I am the Executive Director of Admissions here at UW Green Bay. Before we get started, I do want to share that we are recording today's session. So if you would prefer to keep your camera turned off, please do so. We do ask that everyone stays muted during today's presentation. However, feel free to send any questions or comments through the chat. Today, we will be sharing information about various programs and minors in political science, public administration, sociology and anthropology, criminal justice, and public and environmental affairs. Before we jump in, I will ask for those who have a cell phone handy to take a moment and scan the QR code that you see on your screen. Or take a moment. There will be a link set in the chat to fill out that form. We just want to have a sense of who is joining us today so that we're able to follow up with you after the event. So thank you for taking time to do that. And while you're taking a few minutes to fill out that form or QR code, I do want to introduce Vicki and Christina. You will see their photos on the screen here, as well as their contact information. These are your UW Green Bay career coaches, and they are located right in your high school a few days a week, and they are here to help you with anything related to your college search. They will help you with career exploration, narrowing down any information about programs to study, completing the FAFSA, and more. So I really encourage any students to meet with the career coaches as you are thinking about your plans after high school. That's a free resource for you right there embedded in your schools. So for today's program, we are going to have you hear from 4 faculty members in the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Science. Each faculty member will have about a 10-minute presentation in their subject area, and our program is set to conclude at 10:45. Again, we are recording, so we will be sharing this out to those who attended for your reference. So with that, I will toss it over to Aaron, who will kick us off with information about political science. Aaron?
Thanks, Rachel. Just give me 1 second. I'll get my screen shared so everyone can see my slides. As Rachel said, my name is Aaron Weinschenk. I'm the chair of the political science program at UW Green Bay, and really excited to share a little bit about some of the interesting features of our program, some of the unique opportunities we have. So I'll just take you through some of our experiences, and then also give you some contact information if you want any more information from me or any of my colleagues. So I thought I would start off with kind of a little quick overview of what political science is all about. Basically, political scientists study government institutions and political processes. And I want to make the point to you that we study everything from how individuals make decisions, like who they vote for in elections, all the way to things like why countries go to war, or why certain countries go to war with other countries more frequently than others. So really, there's a huge scope in political science. And I also just wanted to mention that if you're passionate about a particular issue, like you're fascinated by foreign policy or immigration or environmental issues, those can all be studied through the lens of political science. And we have classes on a whole bunch of different issues, including all the ones on the screen and other ones, and even more specific things like certain types of environmental policies. So that's just a quick overview of what we study. But if there's an issue you're passionate about, political science would be a good place to further explore it. I also wanted to just mention that we have some really cool events related to political science. One of the cool things about being a battleground state in a battleground area within a battleground state is we get a lot of political attention. But during presidential elections, a lot of the major candidates make stops on our campus. In fact, the picture of Bernie Sanders, you might be able to see the little Phoenix logo there on the podium. He made a stop over at the Crest Event Center. Donald Trump did a town hall live from the Widener Center with Chris Matthews. Those things are great ways to observe politics firsthand, and maybe even get a chance to meet some of the journalists who are engaging with these people or the candidates themselves. We also sometimes get high-profile campaign advisors to come through. David Axelrod on the left there is a person who ran Obama's campaigns. Karl Rove, sitting next to him, ran Bush's campaigns. And we actually did like a 1-hour meet and greet where students just got to ask them whatever questions they wanted. So there's some really cool things that come through our campus, and a really good chance to make some connections and ask people questions that have been on your mind related to politics. We also try really hard to engage people in our classes. Many of our classes feature guest speakers. That picture there is actually the former member of Congress from the congressional district that we're in talking to one of my classes. Just last week, I had a former U.S. senator in, and just on Monday, I had a current state legislator in. So again, I think those are really cool opportunities for people to hear directly from people involved in government and politics, and they can sometimes lead to neat opportunities. A person in one of my classes one time went up and talked to a former member of Congress and actually landed an internship with the congressional office thanks to the conversation they had with that person. So some really cool networking opportunities, and again, chances to ask people questions that maybe have been on your mind. Our classes also feature a lot of hands-on learning experiences. We have a number of classes that do simulations. One of my favorites is a political behavior class where they actually run mock campaigns and do all kinds of research on how much campaign advertisements cost and make campaign materials, and then usually present them in another class. We have other classes where they do Model UN simulations. And we also have some clubs like Model EU where students actually outside of class engage in these kind of hands-on activities and have a lot of friends and make some good connections with other students. We really encourage our students to get internships. A lot of our students will take an internship where they do work with an organization or a person or a nonprofit before they graduate. We place students all over every semester, from the mayor's office to villages around the area to local law firms and other kinds of government agencies. And the thing I really like about internships is oftentimes the experience that students get in internships leads directly into a job. I can't tell you how many students I've had where their internship supervisor then hired them after they graduated, or they met somebody in their internship who helped them get a job. So those are really great opportunities to consider as you progress throughout your college career. And one other thing I wanted to mention is we really try to get students involved in the things that we're doing when we study political science. One of the classes I teach and offer pretty regularly is a class where students work with me on a research project over the course of the semester. Lately, we've been doing public opinion polls of people in Wisconsin, and the students help me with every dimension of it, from literally brainstorming the topics we want to ask people about, to writing the questions, to actually analyzing the data. So it's a great chance to actually get your hands dirty and try some of these things that we often learn about in classes. So really another unique opportunity, and students have a lot of fun doing it. They get to work really closely with their classmates and learn some skills that they maybe have only read about in other classes or books. I also wanted to mention, going back to the internship thing, that our students get jobs. I just provided a quick list of some of the things that came to mind in terms of where students have recently gotten jobs. Many students are interested in law and so go on to law school and become attorneys, but lots of people work in different government agencies, from state level organizations like the DNR all the way up to the federal level for things like the Environmental Protection Agency or the Department of Homeland Security. Lots of people go work in the legislature or in the Congress as a chief of staff or district director. And I pulled up some recent data, since I'm guessing you're probably wondering how much political science graduates make. On average, about $53,000 a year, but you can definitely move up from there. If you look at the distribution, the top 10% of people with political science majors make $115,000 a year or more. If you were to get a job, say as a chief of staff for a member of Congress, you could make $130,000 a year. So there's some really good opportunities, and there's also lots of chances to move up within different agencies or different governments. So lots of upward mobility. The last thing I wanted to share is just my contact information there. The underlined thing is my email address. You're welcome to reach out to me with anything. I'd be happy to answer questions about the program or talk about anything that I've talked about. You could also just Google UWGB political science. The first result will take you to our webpage. There's a contact page with all of the political science faculty. We also have a contact page form there. You can use that to reach any of us as well. So feel free to reach out with any questions or anything else you want to talk about. I'd be happy to meet with you or email with you. And that's all for me. I will pass it along to my colleague, Professor David Helpap, who's going to tell you about a related program in public administration.
All right, can you see the main screen?
No.
PowerPoints?
We cannot see your screen and your volume is just a little quiet.
Okay, I can speak up. Maybe if you just want to bring up the slides like you did for Aaron, that might be a little bit easier.
Yep, now we can see it and we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, all right, super. All right, so my name is Professor David Helpap. I am a professor of public administration and political science. I'm also the chair of the public administration program here at UWGB. So I want to talk just a little bit about the program, but before I do that, I guess I just have a few questions for everyone that you can just think about. So I guess, have you ever had the opportunity or been excited about getting involved in your community, helping your community, getting involved in different organizations here in the Green Bay area? Have you ever wanted to make a difference? If you haven't already done so in some way, either by volunteering or by working with a group through your school or some other type of organization in the area. Have you ever thought about helping people when they need it most? So thinking like helping folks that have been impacted by like a natural disaster or flooding or something like that, a fire, whatever it may be. Are you interested in helping animals or getting involved in that sort of work? Have you had an interest in improving or managing a city like Green Bay or Alloway or Bellevue or De Pere, working to make that city better, working to make the county better, working in areas like parks and recreation or working on elections, or trying to recruit businesses to make the downtown more vibrant? These types of jobs, I guess. If you have an interest in any of the things or any of the questions I just asked about, then public administration might be a good major for you. It might be a good field for you to look into. So prior to coming to college, a lot of students don't necessarily know the degree or have heard the terms. So what is the idea behind public administration? Well, if you've heard the term business administration before, you probably have some sense of what it is to run or operate a business. Well, when it comes to public administration, what we're focused on are governments and nonprofit organizations. So in public administration, you'll develop a lot of the same skills that you would learn in, say, like a business program, but we focus on government and, again, nonprofits. So we help students develop skills to create and implement public policy and be managers in governments and nonprofits to make communities better, just like I asked in those early slides and talked about in those early slides. So at UW Green Bay, you can focus on several different opportunities and areas of focus within public administration. First is the public sector, so that is government. We help students develop skills to make their communities a better place by developing new public policies, whether it be at the county level or the city level or the state level. So you learn how to manage governments, cities, counties, and state and federal agencies as well. We also provide courses that deal with the nonprofit sector. So here you get the skills you need to learn, or you develop skills to lead nonprofit organizations in the Green Bay area, across the country, and some of our alumni work across the world. And just because you work for a nonprofit organization doesn't mean you yourself don't get paid. It means that you can get paid in most instances, and you can work with volunteers and others and help make a difference in a lot of different ways. We also have a track in emergency management. So I talked a little bit about this, but you can help respond to disasters, help communities prepare for disasters, whether it be flooding or fires or storms, like tornadoes and hurricanes, responding to public health crises, those types of things. And then also we are rolling out this year a new master's program. So you can actually get a degree in public administration, an undergraduate degree at UW-GB, and then you can transition that immediately into a graduate degree. And you can actually take quite a bit of time off of that graduate degree, and it rolls together really nice and smoothly. So in terms of possible careers, this is going to overlap quite a bit with political science. As you'll see in a second, political science and public administration are very closely related. In a lot of ways, public administration is sort of like the applied side of political science. So our alumni often have gone into careers like volunteer coordinator for a nonprofit organization, Parks and Rec and Forestry, being a city manager, a county manager, essentially being the CEO of a city, being a nonprofit director, working in elections, developing public policy to better help your community or your state. We have alumni that are state legislators right now. Our alumni have become city planners, emergency management directors, police officers, firefighters, attorneys. There are many career paths that you can take with this degree. So what are the benefits of the program? Well, you learn a lot of applied skills that they can be applied to, again, a lot of different areas. So it's not just we're teaching you how to be this one specific thing. We're giving you skills when it comes to policy analysis and program evaluation and budgeting and fundraising and grant writing and emergency preparedness that you can take to all sorts of different organizations. As a program, we regularly engage with the community through guest lectures, through community projects, through simulations, and I'll show you in a couple of examples in a second. We also really promote internships. So taking the skills that you learn in the classroom and applying them to the real world. And we send our students to internships in local governments and nonprofits all across Brown County and the Green Bay area, statewide and even nationally. So you get the opportunity to really stand out when you start going out on the job market. And then, as I mentioned before, our major very easily connects to a lot of other majors on campus that include, as Professor Weinschenk was talking about, political science, environmental policy planning, organizational leadership. We provide those skills that allow you to be successful with a variety of degrees. And when you double and triple major, it helps your dollar go further, your education go further. You get a lot more skills. So example of community engagement, we have one class in our program where students get to award $10,000 in real money to a local nonprofit organization. So they get a grant from a different nonprofit to then award to a community nonprofit. And they've been doing this for a number of years. And that's a really cool experience. Students get to award, a big check, and the class is entirely based on how to do this and what to think about when it comes to nonprofits. Another example of community engagement is that this is a class that I teach. We do a simulation where we go to the Green Bay City Hall and we do a city council meeting where students get to sit in the council chairs. Someone gets to be the mayor, and we have an issue that we talk about. And the students who are on the city council get to make a decision on a particular issue at the end of the day. So we get to use the technology and we get to be there where decisions are made in this city. And this class also counts as a political science class. So just a few internship examples of where students have been recently. So you see government organizations there sort of across the county. You see nonprofit organizations. You see federal government organizations. So students really do have the opportunity to get involved in a lot of ways and again, stand out. In terms of careers, this is where some of our recent students have gone on to work, again, public sector, private sector, local government, state government, national government, healthcare, positions that relate to law, people that have gone on to law school and become attorneys. So lots of different organizations and lots of different ways you can take this major. Students also will go on to graduate school for master's degrees in public administration and public policy and political science. Here are just a few examples of those. And then I conclude just with a quote from alumni from a few years ago who talked about the value of being able to interact very closely with professors, getting real world internship opportunities at the university, which allowed her to pursue her master's degree. And she is a grants manager at a large community foundation in Florida. So if you're interested in helping others, improving your community, creating public policy, advocating for others, disaster response and planning, leading government or nonprofit organizations, you should think about a major in public administration. All right, that is all I have. So I can turn it over to the next person who will be presenting.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Dana Atwood. I'm chair of two very exciting new programs that are offered here at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. I just wanted to say hi for a second, and then we'll start our PowerPoint. Okay. Oh, you got it. Okay. Great. Well, if you love observing people and have a natural curiosity about others, our program is for you in sociology and anthropology. It's unique at University of Wisconsin-Green Bay because we're the only one in the state offering this dual major. In this program, you're going to learn about people on both a micro and a macro level. You'll explore interconnections between individual lives and larger structural arrangements. And you'll be at the forefront of studying how change impacts culture and society. We have faculty with a variety of research and teaching interests. They're here to help you to further appreciate diversity in our world and become leaders in the global community. In our classes, you'll learn about a whole host of social and cultural issues, including, of course, but not limited to race, class, gender, culture, crime, and our relationships with the natural environment. Our curriculum will take you through general social cultural concepts to detailed analysis of specific social experiences from the local to the global. One very popular upper level elective that Dr. Hutchinson offers is called Street Gangs in America. Dr. Hutchinson became interested in street gangs when he was completing graduate school at the University of Chicago, and he actually had the opportunity to work with former gang members. He said it took him many years to figure out the format for the course before deciding to compare what we know about gangs from research studies with what we see in the Hollywood. According to Dr. Hutchinson, people will tell you that gangs account for most crime in the city, but we know that street gangs are much more complicated and interesting than that. Gangs in Chicago are very different from gangs in Los Angeles, and they account for only a small amount of crime. There's so much more to learn about street gangs. Some of our faculty also do research with persons in other countries. For example, Dr. Hutchinson worked with Gabriel Manella at the University of Bologna to investigate the social geography of COVID-19. Did you know that Italy was the first European country affected by the coronavirus? Dr. Hutchinson and Manella's research demonstrated that there was a correlation between nursing home placement and the spread of the virus when they compared placements of facilities between the US and Italy. Their work helped explain the apparent discrepancy of the lack of transmission to southern small towns in rural communities in Italy and the continued spread of the virus to these areas in the US. Comparative research like this and the study of demography is important in both sociology and anthropology. Ever wear high heels? Did you know that men wore high heels first before women? In the 1500s, the soldiers of the Persian army, who were the most lethal and effective warriors anywhere, wore high heels. High heels were seen as a symbol of masculinity and strength. As a result, so the King of France actually appropriated them. As with most fashions, there's a trickle-down effect, and soon men of all classes were wearing high heels. The king then had to wear even higher heels so he could set himself above the common folk. The shoes invoked a distinctly manly power related to victory in battle. Consequently, the king had to have the manliest heels, which meant the highest ones, and he forbade anyone else to wear heels as high as his. For women, wearing heels was a form of masculine mimicry. When women began wearing heels in the 1600s, men abandoned them as a symbol of their masculinity. This is a powerful example of how our styles of clothing are artifacts that support our social construction of masculinity and femininity. Humans like to think that our behaviors spring from free will or our personality, but you know that even our basic biological behaviors that we share with other animals, like eating, sleeping, and feeling, are guided by cultural and social rules. Think about eating for a second. What we eat, where we eat, how we eat, and whom we eat with varies by social situation and cultural context. In America, we often use utensils, right? A fork and a spoon. However, in Ethiopia, they eat with their hands. Sharing food in this way and they share in a communal plate. Sharing food in this way is a sign of trust and respect. When what we consider yummy to eat, of course, varies by culture. For example, in America, we think eating bugs is gross. However, many cultures around the world define eating bugs as yummy. They consider them to be sustainable food sources that is rich in nutrients and incorporate them into our traditional dishes. In Thailand, insects such as grasshoppers, crickets, and water beetles are common snack food, and they're sold at street markets. In Africa, termites are roasted or fried on a regular basis because they're delicious, nutty flavor. In Japan, the larvae of the Japanese rhinoceros beetle are considered a delicacy and are found in high-end fancy restaurants. What we eat and what animals we define as good to eat, if any, is shaped by cultural, social, religious, and economic factors, as well as concerns about the natural environment, health, and animal welfare. It isn't just about individual taste. You'll have the opportunity to explore this and more in our sociology and anthropology courses. In our lower level anthropology courses, you'll learn about how anthropologists theorize what it means to be human, how we relate to each other and other animals, and explore cross-cultural variations in the human experiences of family, gender, race, politics, and more. Take our courses and symbolically travel the world. Everything you see around you, you'll study and analyze in class. There's no shortage of compelling changes to explore in recent years, from the pandemic to the war in Ukraine As a sociology and anthropology student, you'll be at the forefront of studying that. You'll even start to apply what you learn while you're hanging out with your friends. By studying people, culture, and society, you gain insight into social behavior, and you can analyze intersections of power, making your job options broad-reaching. From attorney to social worker to museum curator, the list of career options is limited mostly by your imagination. If you're someone dedicated to seeking equity and justice, our criminal justice program is for you. Students who declare this minor will explore and critically analyze criminal justice policies and issues from multiple perspectives. We are taught that in America, justice is blind, but is it really? Learn from former attorney Dr. Kleps about such ideas as the constitutional principles behind our legal systems, the processes in our criminal justice system from arrest to incarceration, and the laws governing environmental protections. Along the way, you'll see how the actual practices and enforcement of the law in the United States can still fall short of the notion of equal justice for all, while considering solutions for how to reach that goal. Look at these charts. Help us help the state to improve our racial relationships in the criminal justice system. Coursework is interdisciplinary by design, and students will engage with various community members who work within the criminal justice system, such as judges, attorneys, victims advocates, nonprofit leaders, and police officers. This minor is available to students majoring in any discipline. Customize your degree to your future career interest, whether it's public policy, political science, sociology, public administration, or psychology. This minor complements your larger area of study. We hope to see you soon. I'm going to pass this over now to Dr. Cohn. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. And I just want to introduce myself to everyone on camera for a moment. So I'm Dr. Elise Cohen, and I'm the unit chair for the Public and Environmental Affairs unit at UW Green Bay. It's an interdisciplinary unit that includes all of the programs you've been hearing from today: political science, public administration, sociology and anthropology, criminal justice, as well as several other programs that aren't being featured today. So one of the joys of overseeing this unit is that I get to see a lot of our students regularly crossing different disciplines and different areas of study. And as Dr. Atwood was saying, sort of pairing our different majors with different minors, because they really do complement each other. And I think they help students be really adaptable for a wide range of careers once you're graduating. So I'm now going to ask that we pull up my slides, and I'll just talk through a few examples to help you get a real sense of how these different areas of study can come together in a certain topic. And I'm going to talk about how we cross disciplines, in particular in my immigration policy course. So I'll go off camera now and just sort of talk through, and I'll let Megan know when we're going to move slides. So as we're starting here, the topic of immigration that I'm focusing on to help bring some of these cross-disciplinary perspectives to life naturally involves taking a lot of different approaches to understand all of the challenges and issues involved. And if we go to the next slide here, this is just to kind of pull you in to understand, why would we care about a topic like immigration when there are so many pressing policy concerns people think about every day? Well, one reason is that this is really a life or death issue for a lot of people that are involved. Every year, hundreds of migrants lose their lives or go missing on dangerous routes in search of safety or better lives as they cross borders. So, for example, since 2014, over 20,000 migrants and asylum seekers died trying to cross the Mediterranean in Europe, and then nearly 7,000 died or went missing right here in the Americas. So moving up from Central America and Mexico in their journeys northwards in search of safety and a better life. That's one reason we'd want to understand this policy issue from lots of different angles and different disciplines is because so many lives are at stake or at risk, and we really need a holistic approach to fully comprehend what is happening. So we can go to the next slide. And part of the challenge in addressing migration and displacement issues, which is something I focus a lot on in my political science research, is how we can develop some solutions when we have such a highly divided public. This is what we call a very politically polarized public. And so we need to draw on different kinds of data and studies, like public opinion polls that Dr. Weinschenk was mentioning, a lot of qualitative, what we call qualitative ethnographic studies, like Dr. Atwood focuses on in sociology and anthropology, to help us understand, why do people disagree with one another so intensely on this issue? Why are they willing to engage in protests or base their voting decisions on how strongly they feel about immigration issues? So understanding public opinion and the social perceptions really involves crossing different disciplines to get that fuller picture. And we can go to the next slide. So a lot of my research in political science focuses on perceptions of who counts as an American citizen, how and why people hold certain stereotypes of what it means to be American. For example, why do Afghan immigrants and refugees who were evacuated by the Taliban or evacuated after the Taliban took control of their country in 2021, many of whom served with the US military personnel as translators and interpreters, why do some people see them as heroes who helped save lives, while other people see them through stereotypes of being potential terrorists or threats to American security? How can we understand these questions of who we feel truly belongs in our society? And these answers are going to span different disciplines, from political science to sociology. We really do need a well-rounded approach to understand what is going on here with these perceptions. And we can go on to the next. One thing I wanted to note today is that many of the students I have in this course I'm focusing on as one example, this immigration policy course, they're also pursuing a minor in criminal justice. And that's because this topic intersects with what is called crimmigration. That's the study of how immigration has become increasingly criminalized. Crossing borders has really come to be viewed as a crime, which should be punished, rather than a natural part of human history or human mobility. So many people don't realize that today the largest federal law enforcement agency in the country is actually an immigration enforcement agency, and that's Customs and Border Protection, also known as CBP. So some of the largest private prison contracts today are also geared towards migrant detention. This means we really need to understand the policies and public attitudes that have led to this focus on law enforcement and incarceration and harsh punishments for immigration policy violations. And again, that means we need to draw on different areas of study like political science, sociology, anthropology, public administration, and criminal justice research. And on to the next slide here, we see that it's kind of giving you a preview of just how complex immigration policy is. So you can see this visual is outlining some of the major divisions of power and how we make our laws that determine, who is deemed a criminal, who is deemed an alien, who is deemed worthy of being protected or granted human rights. And the laws that impact the everyday life and death outcomes for migrants come together through this wide range of actors. We have executive actions by the President of the United States, who can determine, for example, how many refugees should be granted entry each year. We have legislation and funding, which is allocated and passed through Congress by our elected officials, some of whom are visiting Dr. Weinschenk's class or coming to campus, so you can ask them questions about how they make those decisions. We have federal court rulings that can determine whether certain policies are deemed unconstitutional and violate basic due process. And we also have a tremendous variation in local, state, and municipal laws, the kinds of things you would learn about in some of Dr. Helpap's public administration courses, over little things that shape daily life, like whether undocumented immigrant residents can have access to driver's licenses, or whether immigration status impacts the eligibility for in-state tuition and financial aid. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of some of that complexity and why it would help you to maybe double major or double minor and kind of pair these different programs in our unit together in a complementary way. So just to wrap up here, that example I gave you of the immigration policy course, I think helps you to understand how easy it is to put together these different areas of study, because just this one course that I teach actually counts for 3 different programs. It counts for political science, it counts for the public administration degree, and it also counts for the criminal justice minor. So you'll find a lot of these examples of different things pairing together that you can easily, maybe just take a few extra courses and end up really widely adaptable for a range of careers. And that's my email address. If you want to ask me any questions, I can put you in touch with different people in the unit with different programs you're interested in, or if you want to ask any specific questions about my area of study as well. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone, we are nearly at the end of our presentation today. I want to thank you all for being here again and for thanking our faculty for sharing all this great information. Again, we have recorded this presentation, so we will be sharing that out. And I just want to reiterate what Dr. Cohen said, and please reach out to us if you have any questions. We're here to help. Our faculty and our staff love helping students, answering their questions, helping them find programs to study. So we are here to help. And with that, I will let everyone sign off and wish you a great rest of your day. Thank you again. Take care.